looking for the king of podcasts? You're at the wrong channel. Looking for good ideas for life? You are far from good hands. If you think the listener is always right, you are far from the right place. Hosted by a Northeasterner by birth, a rebel by choice. If you want a host that floats between love and madness, then play on and listen to Crazy Train Radio.
What up, Crazy Train Radio?
You want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth!
I love scotch. I love scotch. Scotchy, scotch, scotch. Here it goes down into my belly.
Don't mess with me, I'm one crazy mofo.
This brand is truly exciting and I'm so glad that they are starting to make a positive impact. Little Bean Soapery is a woman-owned small business based in Northeast Pennsylvania. Little Bean Soapery does so much as all products are handcrafted and offer many different things for both men and women. Soaps, scrubs, body butters, bath bombs, solid cologne, and much more. Little Bean Soapery also does things for special occasions such as birthdays, Mother's Day, Father's Day, and special seasonal gift sets. But also, let's not forget large orders for party favors by request. The great things about all products is that they are crafted to be nourishing on the skin. If you wish to check them out, please feel free to visit littlebeansoapery.com. Any questions, please feel free to also email littlebeansoapery@gmail.com for custom inquiries and or ask anything else you wish. Tell them that Elena from Crazy Train Radio sent ya.
Hi, this is Richard Karn. You should be listening to Crazy Train Radio.
Hey folks, it's your least favorite host in the podcast world, Croc, Jonathan Steele.
And I'm Elena, your favorite host from the Emerald Isle.
And boy, do we have a good one for you today. Well, yes, you hear the familiar theme song in the what they call bed for this next guest. But it's a good thing because if I remember this correctly, I should have double checked. October 29th through the 31st. So Halloween weekend. This gentleman will be at Chiller Theater in Parsippany, New Jersey. Everybody knows him, loves him as Mr. Al Borland, Richard Karn. And I hear, before I say welcome, this man also won a good sum of money from President Ford in a game of golf, but we'll get into that.
Webble, man, I didn't see your name on the sign-in sheet for the club tournament. I thought you'd be the man to beat this year. Guess you'll just have to keep beating yourself.
How you doing, Richard?
I am doing well, thank you very much. How are you guys?
No complaints on our end, other than a little faux pas last week, but that's here and there.
It happens. Are you okay? I know you had a little bit of an accident.
Yeah, we're good. Just got to get. We'll have to get that cleaned up, but we'll get that taken care of in the next couple of weeks. You know how they are with the medical field, with everything, all the craziness going on.
Well, that's why they call it practicing medicine.
I won't tell my brother-in-law that, who happens to be in that field, but he'll be like $400,000 down the tube just to practice.
Hey, listen, I just went through surgery yesterday.
Hey, well, how you feeling?
I'm feeling fine. I had cataracts removed from my eye.
Oh boy, but hopefully that went well, and you will be ready to go for chiller in a couple weeks.
That's absolutely true. I was having trouble following the golf ball there for a while.
Is that so? I guess you beat President Ford before the cataract issues, huh?
Well, let's see. The President Ford was quite a while ago. That was like back in the 90s. I played with him at the Bob Hope. I got invited to the Bob Hope Chrysler Classic at the time. And my sister from Seattle calls up and goes, "Hey, Rick, I hear you got invited to play with Bob Hope." And I go, "No, I'm not playing with Bob Hope. I'm playing in the Bob Hope Chrysler Classic." Well, it turns out I played with Bob Hope and Gerald Ford, and we had 4 different pros that week. I started off with Kenny Perry. The next day was Tom Kite. The next day was Arnold Palmer, and the last day was Fuzzy Zeller. So it was a spectacular week of golf. And I'll tell you, I never really wanted to collect on that bet with President Ford.
Well, I am a history nut and studied it in college, or pretended to anyway.
Yeah.
So I found that fascinating that you got to play with one of only 46 men that have held that office. So did you have any interaction with him during that weekend?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we were in the foursome together. We were walking down the fairways, and he had his guys, the
Secret Service
around, but they weren't crowding too much. And he had his son on his bag, so I got to meet his son. And about a week later, I get a letter from Gerald Ford, and the letter went, "Dear Rich, Betty and I would love to host you down here in the desert anytime you want to come by. Yada yada yada." And then, like a few days later, I get another letter that says, "Dear Rick, my secretary informs me you don't go by Rich." It's details like that make people who they are.
So did you take him up on the offer?
I never did. I never did. For one thing, it felt I didn't know how to deal with something that large. So I put it off, and I kept putting it off, and then it was too long.
Well, with that being said, and we'll get into other stuff there, but do you think you would approach it differently if it were today compared to in the 90s?
Yeah, I think I would. I think I have enough, time under my belt to realize that was not, just something that he throws out there casually. And I really think I would have enjoyed taking him up on that offer.
Absolutely. And you mentioned it was the Bob Hope Classic and such that you were playing in. And yeah. I know you play often in several different things, or tournaments, I should say, such as, I believe it's Russell Wilson's event that he does, because you're a Seattle guy.
Because I'm from Seattle, yes. In fact, I had my own event up during the 90s and into the 2000s. For about 18 years, I had my own event up in Seattle. But Russell's I've been going to for like the last 10 years. And that's really special, because it gets me back home. It gets me up there, and I've gotten to know him and, a lot of the other guys that still live in Seattle. So that was pretty cool.
Well, speaking of that, and I know I'm doing a deep dive here, I would think the answer is obvious, but you never know with folks. Are you a major football fan and fan of the Seahawks, since that's your hometown team?
I am a fan of the Seahawks. I went to the University of Washington. So, for better or worse, I'm with the Huskies. the University of Washington Huskies. They haven't had a great season so far this year, but I'm actually flying up to Seattle this weekend to see a game against UCLA.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So that should be fun. Are you going friends, family?
Friends, and family. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Whole shebang. And the president's box. I get to sit in the president's box. So that's nice.
Yeah. So speaking of that, you went to college at university there, and is that where you picked up theater work?
I studied theater there. I went through a very, very good program. It turned out to be, maybe one of the top 3 in the country at that point when I was there. So I was very fortunate to be a part of that. But I kind of picked up theater in high school. I did plays in my high school, Roosevelt High School in Seattle, and which led me to do summer theater and things like that, and then just kept continuing, pursuing that, not really realizing the full scope of what that meant with a life. And you make these decisions at 18, 19, 20 that can affect the rest of your life.
Well, speaking of that, could you have imagined starting out with theater and such and studying in school has led to where you are now?
I don't know how to comprehend where I am now to my 18-year-old brain. When I was starting out, I didn't really think of TV and film as something that I would be doing. I thought I would be doing theater, and I didn't know where that would lead, but I went to New York right after school.
I was going to ask that.
And I spent 11 years in Manhattan doing theater around the country and in town. And it wasn't until I moved to California that I got the television show. And I got the television show because of all the people that I met in New York, that it ended up, creating this kind of situation where I got this job.
So in a sense, going to Chiller in Parsippany is almost sort of like a homecoming for your young adulthood, would you say?
Well, I'll have the weekend in Parsippany, and then we'll go into town, and I think we're going to see a couple of plays.
Okay, so I'm guessing the wife is going to travel with you to the show? Nice.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And Debbie's also, Debbie Dunning from, the Tool Time Girl.
Yes, and the one who took over for Pam Anderson, but we won't get into that, But like you said, Chiller, Debbie Dunning's going to be joining you. How often do you see Debbie and Tim? And well, obviously you just recently did the history show with Tim last year, but how often do you keep in touch with those guys?
Quite often. I think Debbie and Tim are who I keep in touch with the most. I haven't seen much of the other cast in quite a few years. So, and Tim, because we're doing the show for the History Channel, and we are starting up the second season. I don't know what it's going to be called yet. I threw a name out there, and the History Channel called me up and said, "Don't do that." So I'm standing back and saying that we are going to on the 25th of October, we're going to start filming the first episode of season 2.
Now, obviously, last year there was this little wrench, and still pockets of it, obviously, of COVID. Big deal. So is there going to be a difference in how you guys film now that we're this far ahead with everything?
There's going to be a big difference. For one thing, it's not going to be a competition show anymore. And the wrench thrown into the whole deal last year was the fact that we had to do everything via satellite, via cameras and video. So we never went and met the people who were competing. They all did it from their own homes, and we had cameramen there, and that relayed us back. So we never really got, to be in the same room with everybody, which was, it was very interesting because you got to see them work in their environment instead of bringing them to ours and them having to make do. But this year is a little different. We're going to be more of a trio. April is going to be more part of the show, and Tim and I and April, we're going to talk about a certain tool the whole show. Now, when I say tool, it could be heat, how you work with heat. It could be magnets. It could be blades, which are anything from, surgical blades to windmill blades. So we're going to do a deep dive each week into interesting topics.
I like that, and keeping a theme with each episode. That sounds like a pretty cool concept. Do you know how many episodes you plan on taping this year?
10.
Okay, so you're going to go with 10, which is a good thing. So obviously have brought up Tim and such, and you were involved in reuniting on screen before that with Last Man Standing. So what was the vibe with that show, Last Man Standing, compared to Home Improvement?
Well, it's a totally different vibe. Although there were a lot of the crew, Tim brought a lot of the crew with him to Last Man Standing. So the camera guys that I knew for 8 years on Home Improvement, a lot of them were there. Hair, makeup, costume, a lot of the same folks, which was really kind of, a nice homecoming. And I'll tell you, the crew, they said, Tim really perks up when you're around. Yeah, he's like a whole kind of a different guy this week because you're here, and I bring a different energy for Tim.
Well, that's probably because of that 8 years of chemistry and such that you had previously.
Yeah.
But obviously you had to build that up because of you guys didn't know each other, if I read that correctly.
No,
when you first got hired.
I met him first day of rehearsal.
Now, obviously, I know this story's been told, but you were only supposed to do the first couple episodes of that series.
I was only supposed to do the pilot.
Really?
Yeah, Stephen Topolowski was cast from Groundhog Day, the guy that played the life insurance salesman. Yeah. He was cast to play that role. And even though I knew the producers, the creators, all three of them, Matt Williams, David McFadzean, Carmen Finestra, when I called, I think I called David. Did I call David or did I call Carmen? Oh gosh. I think I called Carmen, and I said, "Hey, I hear you guys are doing a new show." And he goes, "Yeah, well, there's nothing in it for you. I'm sorry. We thought about you, but you're too much like Tim, and we needed somebody very different. There's a neighbor that's older, and we went older with Tim's assistant, whose name is Glenn, and but come in and audition anyways, because you can meet Deborah Brilski, our casting director, and maybe we'll bring you in for a guest star down the road." And I went in there and I auditioned. I made them laugh. I made them, laugh at a scene they probably watched 500 times. And then Carmen gives me a call like a few weeks later. He goes, "Do you still have that beard?" And I had a full beard because I was doing a Shakespeare play. I was doing the Scottish play, in town, and which is all part of how, I found out about the thing was there's bad luck considered doing the Scottish play, Shakespeare's Scottish play. And
why is that?
Mainly they think because there were witches and witch incantations written into the script. So there's bad luck, and my bad luck was that I got a traffic ticket, went to traffic school, and sat next to somebody who told me about the audition. So I turned that bad luck into really good luck.
Yeah, I think it worked out for you on that one. Totally
worked out. And yeah, the serendipitousness of life, so many things could have gone differently. And I have no idea, when I got Home Improvement, Tootie, my wife, and I were pregnant. Yeah, with our first, with Cooper, and who was born the first season of Home Improvement. He's now 29 years old.
And is the rumor true about him that Cooper has actually been dabbling in acting as well?
Yeah, he is trying to do that. And oh my God, I know how my parents felt. I want to help. I try to help, but the business is so different for people now. The way I got into it was just, do theater, do whatever, just say yes to everything and do it. And now it's like, you can create your own shows online. You can have your own podcast. You can have your own TikTok or whatever. So, he's working on it. He's trying to find his own way.
But does he come to you and say, "Hey, Dad, what about this? What do you think about this?" as things may happen?
He does it. I'm the dad, so I know nothing. Everything I created was by luck, and it doesn't apply.
but yet putting food on the table and paying the mortgage, couldn't figure out how you did that.
Yeah. Well, that comes with age.
And it's funny, my grandfather always told me, and it stuck with me, with age comes wisdom. And sure,
yeah, that youth is wasted on the young.
And so you don't think about that stuff when you're like I said, I was maybe 6, 7 years old when he started saying that stuff. But now in my later 30s, I go, maybe he was on to something, but what do I know? Yeah, I'm still learning, but we all do. With coming from a theater background, then going into TV, did you find yourself having to slow down or change your performance?
A lot. I was doing so much in those first episodes, and Matt came up to me and he goes, "You don't need to get from A to Z. We're not doing a full play. We have years to find out about your character," and that thought, we have years to find out about this character, really, struck me as like, oh yeah, because sometimes what you learn in one episode you have to forget and relearn it again in another episode, because that's the way sitcoms are told, through somebody overcoming their mistakes over and over and over again sometimes. But I would watch what I was doing, and I would try and pare back and find that sweet spot between theater and TV, because we did have a live audience, and it was wonderful to work in that environment with a live audience giving you immediate feedback. However, I watched scenes that we did without an audience, and basically they looked the same. I just felt better with an audience response.
And that makes sense because you have that theater background where you get the theater or the audience immediate reaction, whether you're going good, bad, indifferent. And I know I'm jumping around here, and I know you're not the first person to have had this issue, but when you joined SAG, that they told you couldn't use your real last name of Wilson because there was another Richard Wilson. So what's that story, and how did that work for you?
I'll tell you, oddly enough, Karn is my middle name.
Yes.
My dad's mom's maiden name. It was my dad's middle name. It's now Cooper's middle name, Cooper Karn Wilson. But I kind of used it in school, in college. Not on my resumes, but in playbills, I was Richard Karn. I thought that just sounds cool. I like the sound of that. So when I did join, it was like my first year in New York, I had to join the union. I asked about Wilson, a Richard Wilson, and they go, well, there's already a Richard Wilson. So, and I go, well, is there a Richard Karn? They go, no, you can use Richard Karn. There's nobody like that. So, and I finally saw Richard Wilson in something a few years back. He was in Merlin. Do you remember that show, Merlin?
Yeah.
Yeah, he played the old magician, the one that kind of mentored him.
Now, did you ever get a chance to meet him in all your travels?
No, I never did. English actor. So, I think the majority of his work was over in England.
Okay. Yeah, because when I saw that story, I found it interesting because I believe it's Michael Keaton that had a similar issue.
And Michael J. Fox.
That one I didn't know. Michael J. Fox had that issue.
That's why he's got the J in there.
Interesting. So 2 more questions for you, sir. First one being, I saw a story, and I can't believe I didn't see this with all the craziness of 2020, but there was actually a story that floated around saying you passed away. What happened there, and where did you hear about it?
Oh my gosh. I think I heard it from somebody, tweeting me or Facebooking me or something like that. It says, are you okay? Is everything all right? And I went, I think so. Why? Well, you're supposed to be dead. And I looked closer, and it was kind of a, the whole don't trust media over the last 6 years. It was a Republican formatted, I guess, Facebook thing that they threw out there because they said that I was a lifelong Republican. I was, they did all these things and that nothing was true except my name. The only thing in this whole thing was my name was true.
Yeah, it's unbelievable because I just dealt with been doing this for almost 10 years and have luckily been friendly with a lot of the guests over the years. And it was funny when this happened. I was just at a concert 2 weeks ago with a previous guest, and all of a sudden I get this Instagram message from supposedly this musician. I'm going, hold on, wait a second. Really? So you're so-and-so, right? Because yeah, I'm interacting with my fans. I'm doing this. It was one of those bogus things. I go, well, if that's the case, why wouldn't you have texted me directly? Being you have my number and such. Sure enough, account was deleted.
Gone. Yeah.
When I called him out on it, and I ended up telling the guy, I text him, I go, hey, you're not going to believe this. Started laughing his ass off.
Yeah. They're making movies about that now. Clickbait. If you watch that series, it's really interesting about, the motivation behind why people do those kind of things.
Yeah, it's scary in certain ways. He goes, well, at least they didn't get my bank account. But yeah, but well, obviously, like I said, you got the convention coming up and such. But well, while I'm on that, do you do a lot of these Comic-Cons and different events?
I haven't done a lot, but I've done maybe 4 or 5 over the last 5 years. I did Chiller about 5 years ago. And I've maybe done 3 or 4 since then. I did one in Wales, which was a lot of fun. That was kind of interesting.
Well, speaking of Wales, did you get some golf in over there?
I didn't. I was over there too quickly. But I've golfed England. I've golfed in England, and I had a great time. I did a Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous with Robin Leach, where we went up to Skibo Castle, and I played the links course there and other places. So I've had my time.
Beautiful. Well, last question for you. What is keeping you busy besides the appearances and you've been doing the TV show in history?
Well, I think of myself as retired until I work. So, little things come up all the time, little movies. I just did a little movie in Michigan about a month ago, a little sci-fi movie. I'm doing the thing with Tim. I still represent like 7 or 8 companies, around the country. So I'm very, kind of cerebrally busy. Plus, I'm always working on my golf game.
Well, you're as busy as you want to be. That's for sure.
I'm as busy as I want to be. Exactly.
As I'm thinking about this, because I can't believe I forgot, but do you ever see yourself getting back into doing game shows like Family Feud?
Oh God, I had a great time on Family Feud. I wish I'd gotten a little more time to do that. I was just cracking that nut and having a really good time. I actually did a play called Game Show, which was a lot of fun. On stage where we brought people up, and then there was a play during the commercials of who's sleeping with who or who wants whose job, like that, and that was kind of interesting. But I don't know. If it does come, it would have to be a really cool game because Family Feud's the best of them all because you never know what people are going to say, and that's where the real humor comes in.
Yeah, I've seen some behind the scenes clips and outtakes and stuff, and it always seems like that show in particular has some of the best responses.
It does because it's truthful. It comes out of truth.
Oh boy, and especially if you ever seen them, the ones with Steve Harvey. That's I can't repeat some of the stuff, even though the title of the show. So
I was kinder and gentler.
Yeah, yeah, you weren't a cutthroat comedian like he was. So
well, I didn't feel like I wanted people to shut down. If you embarrass somebody too much, they won't. They just stop functioning. So.
Well, obviously, like we said, if you happen to be in North Jersey, Parsippany, October 29th through the 31st, stop by and see Richard and Debbie over at Shore Theater. But where can people find you on social media if they want to reach out? Say hello.
Well, I'm on Cameo. I'm also, I guess, on Instagram at the Richard Karn or the real Richard Karn. I don't know. My son set it up for me. So I'm of that generation that's still kind of, a little clueless.
Cooper, help us out. Help your dad out. Remind him. No. But Richard, hopefully we'll see you in a couple of weeks. I'm supposed to meet up there with another friend of the show, so good
Stop
time.
by, okay?
Will do. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Take care.
Hey there, Friday fans. We know how much you enjoy the movies. Enjoy grabbing your Friday merchandise and interacting with the Friday family, whether it be at conventions or during our particular watch-alongs. Well, when you're looking to get yourself masks, why not check out our friends over at Camp Blood Customs out of New York State and order your specific custom mask from any of the films. All orders are made specifically. Your needs and wants are. Make sure you find Camp Blood Customs on Facebook, Instagram, and all over social media and order yours today.
Hey, this is Tiffany, and you're listening to Crazy Train Radio.